Yo, Algebraniacs, welcome to the Johnson Kendra Video Hour.
But it's not an hour.
Alrighty then.
Hey, guess what?
Hey, what?
Today's lesson is all words, no numbers.
Woo! This is gonna be freaky for math.
I don't know if this is good or bad, but here we go.
Here we go. Alright, if you determine a sample carefully, the statistics for a sample can be used to make general conclusions about the larger population. So carefully is a very important word there.
And we want to make good samples. There is a lot of vocab you need to know for this section, so we're going to just go through that now. First thing is...
population.
So does that mean like all the peoples in the world?
Well, if the world is your set.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just all the pieces or the members of a certain set.
Might even be like all of the candy in a dish or something like that.
Or all
Really
the
depends.
dots on a die. Cards in a deck. Okay, a sample means a part of that population, like the queens, kind of like us. We're the math queens. The queens in a deck would be a sample or part of that.
Okay, there are lots of different sampling methods, so we're going to go through those definitions now. In a convenience sample, what do you think you do?
What's convenient?
Yeah.
Conveniently available.
So select members of a population who are conveniently available, so people nearby or...
Hey you, can you come over here and do this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, a self-selected sample means that we select only members who volunteer to participate.
Okay, if you have an audience, you can just ask.
Okay. Systematic.
So you just do regular intervals, like every fifth person, maybe the policemen when they're making stops, they'll stop every
Or like they do seatbelt checks and stuff.
seatbelt checks, yeah, every fifth car that
That's a
goes
good
by.
example. So yeah, think they use a system. And then lastly is a random sample, and that's when all members of the population are equally likely to be chosen. And that would be best if you're going to try to
make it really
Yeah.
accurate.
And I think even systematic is an attempt to be random, you know?
Yeah, it's just a more systematic way to do it. You
Yep.
don't have to think about it.
Right. All right, the last vocab word, so this is not a sampling type, this is a separate word. It says bias, and if you're biased, you are either, you know, humans are biased, we can't help it. We have a really hard time being random. So bias in a sample or in a survey occurs when part of the population is either over or underrepresented in the sample. So if you pick more girls than boys,
It might sway towards the girls'
correct.
thoughts or answers.
Yep.
Okay, got that under control.
All right, so how the questions are going to look, they are going to give you, so first we'll talk about sampling methods, in a minute we'll do studies. This says, for each situation, what is the sampling method, and does the sample have bias? So the bias could be related to a good or bad question. So for instance, if you ask a biased question, that's trying to influence someone one way or the other. A really good example that I saw was something about the death penalty, and they worded it, a very biased question said, do you think we should kill people who kill people?
Yeah.
It's very emotionally charged. Yeah.
Or how often do you spank your children? Or when is the last time? Or, you know, trying to lead them on to...
Yeah. Influence
like they
their
actually
answer.
did this thing.
Right. Okay, I'm getting sidetracked. Anyway,
Okay.
number one, to survey the eating habits of a community, employees of a local TV station interview people visiting the food court at the mall. So first of all, Mrs. Kendra, what type of sample do you think that is?
I would say convenience.
I would agree with that.
Because they're all in one place.
Did I spell it right? I always second.
Convenience, yes.
Okay. I always second guess myself. So that's the first part. And then, does the sample have bias? So in other words, is what we collect from this little survey or whatever you want to call it, does that make generalizations about the community? What do you think?
Well, probably is biased because people eating in a food court might not be worried about getting their vegetables or, you know.
So we think yes, and that is because they're probably eating junk food. I don't know how to say that in a nice way.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're not going to be as health conscious as maybe half the community.
And it's very clear in the statement that we're trying to get an idea of how the community eats.
Right.
And just people that eat in the food court, I don't think is a very good idea. I will tell you that sometimes there are multiple correct answers here, so we will require some explanations on testing quizzes.
So you have to say something about the junk food part of it.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
We just said that verbally. So a political candidate wants to know what % of its constituency favors a referendum.
What what's constituency?
Um,
That's the people who vote for them.
right.
Okay.
Favors a referendum on an upcoming ballot election. His staff asks each person who comes into the office for 3 days whether they support the referendum. All right.
So which of the,
You know, I think this one's convenience again.
yeah, because if they're coming into the office and people are not volunteering and they're not picking every fifth one and it's not random, it's got to be convenience. Now, as far as biased or not,
This is tricky. You got to know what some of these words mean. So, first of all, his constituency are the people that are voting for him, right?
well, not necessarily for him, but have voted from the community.
Okay,
So
so
the people he represents after he's been elected. So that could be just about anybody.
so it might be people that support him. It might not be people that support him. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So we want to know. We're trying to use this survey method to see if those people favor the referendum on an upcoming
So
ballot.
maybe it's a referendum for who, okay, for something that that candidate stands for. Now, if these people voted for him, probably they're going to be more biased towards that referendum for what he favors.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say probably biased because it's his people that voted for him coming into his office, and if they like him, they're gonna like his referendums.
Well, and I think because they have to come into his office, so what kind of people are coming into his office?
The
The
ones who
people that
support
support
him.
him. So even though there are people in his constituency that maybe did not vote for him,
Yeah, and you could argue it the other way too. It's unbiased because everybody who's coming in is being asked, and maybe some people are not happy and are coming in to express that. So as long as you have a good argument with it, you know, you could have one or two different answers.
okay. The manager of a grocery store wants to determine what % of shoppers use store coupons. He asks every 10th shopper that passes through the store's door for the next week if he or she intends to use coupons.
Oh, that's an easy one. That's systematic.
Yeah, so you can, yeah.
Every 10th one, regular interval.
Okay, I think because we are trying to figure out who's using the coupons, I think that asking people I don't think it's biased.
No, because you can go in the store with or without coupons.
So asking every 10th person will give a good representation of the population, which in this case our population is what % of the shoppers use his store coupons.
Right. Yeah.
It's an attempt at a random sample, and pretty often a random sample is going to generate good results. So the moral of the story is explain yourself.
Right.
All right, so some more vocab we need to talk about here. These are pretty obvious, I think, study methods. So how you might be asked, what is the study method used? An observational study, we measure or observe members of a sample in a way that we are not affecting them. And that's really, really important, that what we do as observers or
Right. You
researchers.
can't laugh, you can't smile, you can't get sad or
Right.
angry when you're asking questions.
And you are not doing anything to impact their performance. A controlled experiment, they're probably very familiar with this from science. You got to divide the sample into two groups. One is a control and the other gets some sort of treatment, and then you compare the effect of the treatment.
Got it.
And then a survey, you ask everybody the same stuff.
Okay.
Go ahead and hit pause if you need to write those down. So now we're going to identify what study methods are being used, and then whether or not we think that the statistics can be used to make a generalization about the population.
Okay.
So I put a little note on there. Consider size, sampling method, if they're biased, etc.
Alrighty.
So first thing, scientists study the effects of phases of the moon on the levels of low and high tide in 200 coastal cities for a period of 12 months. I think
Okay.
that's a pretty large sample. Wait a minute.
200.
I'm getting ahead of myself. What study method is that?
Study method would be, let's see,
We're not affecting, we can't affect high and low tide,
right?
and we're not doing any controls. I think it's observational. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so now we can argue about the other part. So do you think that the data that they gather could be used to make a generalization? I think so.
Yeah, 200 is a pretty big.
That's a good number. Also, 12 months, you know, we're doing it for an
That's a long
extended amount of time. You know, I think that yes, we can.
Yeah. The only argument would be, you know, as long as they're on both east and west
Yeah,
coast, north
someone
and
said
south.
that before too.
Yeah.
All right. Pet food company chooses 2 groups of 20 puppies.
Aww.
I want to be a part of this. One group eats a new brand of food and the other eats an off-brand. For 4 weeks, researchers record muscular and skeletal growth for rates in both groups. What kind of study?
I would say, yeah, because one does one thing and the other does the other.
For the second part.
That's not a lot of puppies.
Yeah, and, you know, once we split 20 into 2 groups, then we're looking at 10 puppies.
Yeah.
And they also, who knows, are these all from the same litter or, you know,
Are
the
they big
same
dogs,
breed?
little dogs?
I don't think that's
Are
enough
they
info.
picky eater dogs?
Not enough people, not people, puppies in the sample. Alright, for a class project, students in health class ask every 10th student entering the school if they eat breakfast in the morning. So what kind of study method, I almost said it out loud, do you think that this is? We ask everyone the same question.
Survey.
Survey, I agree. And then do you think that asking every 10th student is enough to make a generalization about students and their breakfast habits?
Probably,
We're attempting to give a random sample,
Yeah.
you know?
but it depends on the size of the school too. If
Yeah.
you only got, you know, 50 kids at your whole school, that's probably not enough. But yeah, generally I would say absolutely.
We definitely think that some of these are up for debate, and that means that if you're doing this on a test or a quiz, you can ask some clarifying questions or make sure you explain your answers. Especially when your answers are no. I feel like you need to
Right.
explain.
Right on.
Okay.
Ta-ta for now.